Hi, I'm Sleepless Skies. Today I'm going to take you on a little walkthrough of my track Run, written with the brilliant 88 Birds and released on Sommersville. And yeah, let's have a look at what goes into the track. Okay, so before we start, let's just have a quick listen. You can just start it off here. This is the track project, you can see. Open that up a little bit. Bit of intro. I'll skip forward a few. You can just give you a sense of the track. So we've got like a little breakdown for the vocal here. Just coming in for the vocal. You have to forgive some of the glitching. Running this video with Ableton just destroys my CPU. Beautiful vocal. Pianos, it's got a kind of nice dreamy sort of feel to it, very progressive in its rhythms. Kind of skip forward a bit. You can hear this lead developing over time. That kind of starts to become the focal point for the track. And then there's a kind of a big breakdown. This all builds up. I'm not going to play you the build up because at a certain point in the drop it just stops working. But you basically get the idea. Like it builds up, we get a big kick in, and then you get the kind of chorus. This big synth solo. Reach for the lasers. Right. Let that finish. Okay. You get the idea. So, nice track. Let's have a look at what went into it. So, I usually start this quick overview of the project. This is how I tend to arrange my projects. Got some sort of mid stuff, some drum stuff, and kick and bass. I actually changed that now. I started processing my kick with my drums. So that's a change since I wrote this track. But at this time, I was processing kick and bass together. You can do either. I just prefer drums now. So, and then we've got this piano sitting on its own. Sometimes I just process that separately because I don't want to introduce any weird artifacts from the processing I might put on this mid bus. So let's start with the kick and bass. What have we got in here? If I just solo that, you can hear that this together. Let me see. Oh yeah, sorry, it's in there, isn't it? Right. So kick is pretty simple stuff. Nice sample here from Production Music Live. One of their Deep Premium kicks from Deep Premium 2. I like this kick. It's got a lot of click, but a lot of body as well. I'm not really doing anything to it other than a bit of EQ. You can see the EQ curve there. Surprisingly, I usually roll that off at the bottom, but haven't done this time. So there you go. Yeah, nothing else happening. I think I had some compression on at some point, but I took it off. Didn't need it. Interestingly, you'll see that like I'm like auditioning kicks all the way through this, right? So I've got 3 kicks on the go here, and I'm just like, I'll be just like listening through and I'll say, okay, what about that one? Maybe that one's got a bit of a deeper vibe. It's quite cool though. Changes the whole vibe of the track, right? And then that's a bit more click on that one. it's amazing to me. This is where spend time like getting the kick right, because it just changes the track. Look, that's that kick. This one drives a bit more. Don't know why, it just does. And then you take that, put that other one in. It's a little bit more moody and a bit deeper. So spend time on kicks. Honestly, it's time well spent. So then, and you also want a kick that's going to go well with the bass. So I've got like this little 808 tom running, which is just adding a bit of groove. But then this bass is this kind of respace style, and just put it back on kick and bass. It's this kind of respace style, and with that bass style, you do want some clicks. So this is where I think this kick here doesn't work quite as well, because it's just not clicking up above the respace. For the vibe of this track is a bit more upbeat, up tempo. It's quite anthemic, so this poked through the bass better. So then you've got the bass itself. What's going on here? So we've got, as usual, I'm processing the bass separately. So I've got this top bass and this, let me see, and a kind of a sub. Right? It's the top bass rolling off everything at about 100 there. I've got a little bit of saturation, decapitator, use that on everything, standard. Got a nice bit of multiband there just to push down, suppress those bottom end, low end frequencies a bit more, make sure they're not coming through too much. I'm adding a bit of width to it, but monoing the bass, so you can keep the bass mono. You can do that as well. A more elegant way to do that would be with mid-side processing, so maybe I'll show you that in a future walkthrough, but in this one I did it with bass mono and width, and then a limiter to catch any peaks, and some sidechain compression with the brilliant kickstart. Again, use that on everything. And then we've got the sub. So the sub is basically the same sound. I have just cut everything at 100 off. I've left a bit of overlap there, which actually I've stopped doing that in later tracks because of sometimes it can cause a bit of a phasing issue, like the two of them just sort of phase together. But it seemed to be okay in this one. You can hear it, like, it doesn't seem to be causing any problems, but you just have to be wary of that. And then taking a few of the low frequencies out that I didn't want. Again, a bit of saturation, good old decapitator. With decapitator, I'm not adding much. You know, it's just up to 2. It's quite subtle. You can hear though just the way it lifts it and adds some more frequencies. And then monoing the bass, adding a limiter to keep it under control, and sidechain compression. So that's all going on in the bass. That's our kick and bass together. And then if you process kick and bass together, you can add a bit of very gentle glue compression, like it's really just tickling the needle. That's probably not quite enough. You might want to add a bit more than that. Just let it move a little bit. But yeah, you just want those to be kind of stuck together at the bottom end. Okay, let's get to the fun bit here. This is the mid. So we built that's the foundation of the track, always kick and bass. But let's get into the actual excitement here, which is the vocals. Our hearts so hollow. Why chasing shadows? So when I listened to this vocal, Dana sent it across, I was like, this is just so beautiful already. When you have a vocal that's this well formed, you just don't need to do loads with it. So I got the bits in here with the vocal. I got this one here. I'll just loop this quickly so we can, where is it? Loop selection. Just loop this quickly so that we can, don't have to keep pressing the play button. So this is it dry. And then we go in here, you can hear kind of some doubles, and then there's a kind of a low version here for a bit of harmony. So that gives it all kind of a bit of depth. Again, all performed beautifully by Dan and did such a good job. So then we have, if we take the vocal as a whole, you can hear some processing on this then. So all I've done on these is some EQ. So this is the main one. This is the second one. This is the low one. It's all just EQ. And then on the actual vocal itself, there is a bit of this portal, which I'm using. You can hear. It's adding these, Portal adds these kind of jittery things. I'll do a whole video on Portal at some point because it's amazing. But this is it's a plugin here from, if I bring it up, plugin from Output, and it just allows you to do all sorts of crazy shit with it, you know, and it'll just basically change if I play it. We've grown faceless. Let's put the wet up. And that's just, honestly, this is like one preset. There's like hundreds of these things. You can do so much. You can do so much with this. You have to use it quite sparingly because it can easily just take over your track with like crazy effects, but it's very cool. So I've used Portal on that just to add a bit of like weird interest to the vocal in times, not too much. And then I've processed all of this using return channels, which is really weird. It's annoying because it's not, doesn't seem to be playing the return channels when I solo it, which is really weird. So maybe if I do this, I can give you the sense of what happens here. So you just hear there's a bit of reverb, which I've added to the return channel here. You can see I'm using this H reverb, quite a long reverb time, some saturation on it, EQ out the bottom end of it, add some side chaining so it doesn't get in the way of the kick. And there's a kind of a medium-sized one and a small room-sized one, some delay. So that's all going on. That's what the vocal's running into. Oh, the other thing that I often do with this vocal, or have done here, is added something called a widener, which is a return channel that I'm going to throw a bunch of different channels into that adds more width. This is a really cool idea. So I can't remember where I got this from, some tutorial, but basically add an EQ because you don't want to add low end width, right? That's not a good idea. Then some chorus, this Haas delay, this way to use the delay function to create a Haas effect. Although I would say, by the way, if you're doing this Haas thing, this is one of the things I found recently, which is these free plugins from KHS, and this is called KHS Haas Effect. So you can just get this and it basically just does Haas for you. Like really simple little plugin. These are all free KHS plugins. I just go and get a bunch of them. They're all kind of cool little things. You can, you know, delays and stuff. They're quite a handy bunch of little plugins. But so I would use this probably rather than using the delay like I've done here, because this just takes some time to set up. And then of course a sidechain, and you stick sidechains on any big spatial effects. I would say stick a sidechain on spatial effects, because over time those things can build up and get in the way of the groove of the track and the kick of the track. So it's useful to have a bit of sidechaining on there just to control them. So yeah, that's the vocal. I think that's all. Beautiful. All right, what else have we got in here? So we've got, oh yeah, let's just hear this with the piano as well. So we've grown Piano is nice. The piano is this beautiful plugin called Soft. This is on Spitfire Audio's Labs, and this is called Soft Soft Piano. This preset. You just buy this. I would get Labs. Like, Labs is great. Again, Labs is free. I love free plugins, as you can see. I'm a big fan. Labs is free. You get all of these kind of cool packs that you can download. And then Soft Piano is a really nice one that you get. And Soft Piano just sounds like kind of a haunting, sort of Scandi upright piano. Just, and to make it more realistic, I have gone in and changed the starting point of all these keys. So this is a really good thing to do. If you look here, this is the crossover point of the chord. And you can see all the starting points are different. And that just creates the illusion of somebody who's actually playing, because they wouldn't, and you can see velocities are different as well. I've moved some velocities up and down, because a real person playing the piano doesn't just like hammer away completely accurately. They sort of stroke the keys a little, and one finger falls a little behind the other and not quite as hard as the other. And there's just this kind of variation that's introduced. And this is a really nice way to do it. I have a feeling that in some of the more recent versions of Ableton, possibly 12, they have some ways of assisting you doing this. But for now, I just always done it manually by just dragging the little keys around. So it's nice. So what else we've got in here? We've got this ARP. That's quite cool. Using Diva. BS pluckers, nice preset on Diva. And then added an ARP to it. EQ, panning, delay, filter, all the standard stuff. A little bit of Soothe in there. Soothe just to capture anything, particularly when the when I lift the cut off, you can see. Oh yeah, Soothe is actually, that's what Soothe is doing. No, Soothe is sidechaining. This is cool. Soothe is sidechaining with the vocals, right? So if you've got Soothe 2, and I would really recommend it, it's great. So, sorry the vocals are so dry. Again, it's just not processing the reverb. There we go, let's add that. So what's happening here is the vocals are coming through, and as they're coming through, Soothe is just removing the frequencies in the ARP that are competing with the vocal frequencies. So rather than doing that as a sidechain where it takes away the whole sound, this is just removing the bits where the vocal needs to come through. So we don't lose all the ARP. It's very, very smart. So you just set that up by you add the vocals in as a sidechain input here in Soothe. And then you click the sidechain on, and then you can just draw that line in as you wish. Very, very cool effect to do with Soothe. You could do something similar with multiband compression. It wouldn't have the same level of precision and the kind of clever AI that Soothe does, but you could still do a version of that with multiband compression. Let's look at the lead quickly as well. We've got the lead is in here. So lots of automation going on in the lead. Maybe open up all those automation lanes so you can see how much automation happens across this lead throughout the track. So one of the things that when you have a sound like this is this sound here. Okay, it basically does this throughout the whole track. It's a nice melody, but it's not like, you know, it could get tired quite quickly if you're not careful. So we're doing a lot of things here to keep it interesting. First of all that automation, you can automate the length of things. I've got automation on, so that's automating the decay and the release. I've got automation on filter. You could use the filter in the synth, but I've used the filter externally, just, you know, do it a bit differently. I think it got the sound I wanted better. I'm automating volume, and with again, actually, there's a bit of volume automation going on in the breakdown here. You can see just subtle 2 dB here and there, just when the synth gets quite loud as you release the cutoff, and I want to move it out of the way of other things, so I've automated the gain there. So yeah, and then you can hear really that really comes to life here. And this is another thing, if you've got the same like little motif, that hook running through the track, you want to think about like how you can add some variety. So this bit at the end acts as like the kind of big payoff, and it just gives me some variety in the track. So yeah, lots of different things you can do there with automation and variation to kind of keep interest in a hook. What else have we got? Some nice pads here. Just filling things out a little bit. And then lots of other little kind of fun sounds. Arcade's nice for kind of weird ethereal sounding things. I'm using Aura here as a preset called Angelic Forest, and you can just like draw in random little kind of ethereal sounds. Beautiful, you know, and they just add they're just sort of there as ambiance, like they just kind of add this. I wanted this to give it like almost this track to have this sense of being in this kind of weird ethereal space, because the vocal sounded like that, like a bit otherworldly. So that's what I was trying to do with some of this. I've also got this kind of drone going on in the background the whole time. It's just like a nice little layer of sound, and I think this was just a sample actually from Splice probably. And I've added some like chorus and delay and reverb and a bit of filtering, you know, a lot of reverb. It's up completely wet because I won't, this is the sound. So you can hear there's some like rhythmic elements and stuff in there. I don't want that. I just want this kind of weird washy noisiness. Okay, right, good. So let's see what else we want to go through. Oh yeah, the other thing, very quickly, quick tour of drums. Drums are drums, but I've used it's a nice groove actually. It's got a shaker loop, another shaker loop. Quite often use like pan shakers, gives it a bit of kind of organic feel. Got a 16 beat hi-hat with vocoder on, and that vocoder, you can look here, you can see there's just automating that vocoder over time to give it that kind of like kind of slushiness that comes out. Some random perky things that's actually providing a lot of the groove. You hear it without it, it's a bit dead, it's a bit flat. Add this in, and there's actually like delay and stuff on that, so you get this kind of like groovy spatial thing, and then a shaker for the off hat. This is cool. I don't know what that is, little clave or something, but it's like giving it the kind of funky energy. And some claps. These little ghost hits on the downbeat there. This is the stuff that gives a drum beat, like if I'm just sorry, get all the other stuff off here. So if I take them out, then it just, the little things that just add up in drums to give you some groove. And then I think I've added, yeah, it's just kind of that sound as a kind of a loop that was put in there. That's a PML loop, Production Music Live one. And then obviously some white noise just to kind of help with transitions and things like that. And I've used, sometimes use this for white noise. It's quite cool. This is Yuhi's Ethereal, a free synth. It's just quite an interesting little synth. Same people that make Diva. And there's a nice little hi-hat sample in there that you can mess with and create white noise from. So sometimes I use that because it's quite, that's nice, isn't it? It's quite sort of organic sounding, like or sort of analog sounding. Right. So the only other thing to show you on this track then, that's the tour. The only other thing I wanted to show you was referencing. When I'm making these tracks, so let's just find a good point to loop. In fact, I'll loop this bit here, the synth solo. So you can hear that. I'm always referencing, and I've got this this plugin called Reference, which I have on my master bus. So you can, I've got a number of tracks lined up here. This is a really cool track by Nils Hoffman. It's a Nils Hoffman remix of Emmett Fenn, track called Aman. And so you can see that this line is telling me basically everything over this line is where the reference track has more frequency and energy. When it's under the line, my track has more frequency and energy. So you can see here that like it's a little bit more energy in the bottom end of the track in the reference, a little, not much. Getting a little boost. There's a little more energy in the reference track around about the sort of 600 mark. And then I've got a lot more top end energy, but that's like, if you listen to the two together, you can hear that already, right? But what it's telling me is, if I listen to those two side by side, yeah, like it's pretty close. I'm not losing out massively in terms of volume. And you can also do some fun things where I can like take everything below say 120-ish and just reference that. You know, so you can that, and this is how you get your low end right. Just reference. They sound pretty similar. I had other references on here too. This is a nice track, a Roiksop track. It's got a remix on it. I can't remember who it was. You just have to get the right part of the track. But you can see here, again. You can see that like that it sounds pretty close. So Reference 2, get a referencing plugin. I recommend Reference 2 for mastering the mix. It's got lots of really fun features. I'm not going to do a whole kind of walkthrough of that today, but you can get a sense for how I use it. I've got lots of sections of the track. I'm constantly saying, referencing back to bits of the track, like that one's got little, that's like a bit more like this kick-in bit. Hang on, let's go back to here. So this bit here I want. So that's like this bit here. So you see it's that over time. It's having a little think about it, listens, starts to even itself out. It's pretty close. I've got a bit more on the top frequencies. That's okay. All right, good. That is the walkthrough of Run. I hope that was useful and interesting. If you've got things that you'd like to add, if you've got advice for me, if you've got your own tracks you want to share, stick them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And share this video, like the channel, subscribe to the channel for more. There'll be many more coming. And I will see you next time. Thanks very much. Bye.